James Weldon Johnson, the architect of Black American voice. Let me tell you about a man whose pen was sharper than policy, a man whose lyrics outlived lynch mobs, a man whose intelligence forced America to listen. His name was James Weldon Johnson. And if you only know him for one song, you don't know him at all. Born in 1871 in Jacksonville, Florida, just 6 years after the Civil War ended, Johnson was born into a nation that had freed Black people but refused to see them as equal. Reconstruction was collapsing. White supremacy was reorganizing. The promise of America was already being broken. But Johnson, he was raised by a mother who believed in education as liberation. He graduated from Atlanta University at just 23 years old. And by 25, he became the first Black principal of Stanton School, a school for Black students in Florida. Let's pause there. He wasn't just teaching grammar, he was teaching dignity. He wasn't just leading a school, he was building intellectual resistance. And then, at just 27 years old, he became the first Black lawyer admitted to the Florida bar since Reconstruction. First, after they shut the doors, after they rewrote the rules. That's not accidental, that's defiance. But Johnson understood something powerful. Law changes systems, culture changes minds. So he turned to music. In 1900, he wrote a poem for a school celebration honoring Abraham Lincoln's birthday. His brother, J. Rosamond Johnson, composed the music. The students sang it. And what they sang became known as Lift Every Voice and Sing. Let me say that again. The Black National Anthem, a song that carried generations through segregation, through lynchings, through Jim Crow, through church basements and protest marches. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. That wasn't just poetry, that was prophecy. But Johnson didn't stop at music. He became a diplomat, appointed U.S. consul to Venezuela, and later Nicaragua, a Black man representing America abroad in the early 1900s. Let that sink in. While America struggled to see him as equal, he was representing America on foreign soil. The irony, the audacity, the brilliance. Then came literature. In 1912, he anonymously published the Autobiography of an Ex-Colored Man, one of the earliest novels to explore racial identity, passing, and psychological survival in a white supremacist society. This wasn't casual storytelling. This was intellectual surgery. He dissected the cost of passing. He exposed the violence behind assimilation. He asked the question, what does it cost to survive in America as a Black man? That book helped lay the groundwork for what would become the Harlem Renaissance. And speaking of the Harlem Renaissance, Johnson wasn't just a participant, he was an architect. He edited the Book of American Negro Poetry, amplifying Black writers when publishing houses refused to. He understood that voice equals power, visibility equals validation. And then, perhaps his most consequential role, he became executive secretary of the NAACP in 1920, at a time when lynching was terrorizing Black communities, at a time when mobs were burning entire Black neighborhoods, at a time when the federal government refused to intervene. Johnson organized, he lobbied, he investigated lynchings personally. He helped expand NAACP membership dramatically. He was not a keyboard activist, he was on the ground. He documented the horror of lynching in his writing and speeches. He fought for federal anti lynching legislation. And though Congress failed to pass it in his lifetime, his groundwork paved the way for future civil rights victories. He believed in strategy. He believed in coalition. He believed in dignity. And most importantly, he believed that Black Americans were not a problem to solve, but a people to celebrate. James Weldon Johnson died in 1938 in a car accident in Maine. The nation mourned him. Thousands attended his funeral in Harlem. But here's the part we need to understand today. Johnson understood that Black progress required three weapons: education, art, political power. Not one, not two, all three. He didn't separate culture from activism. He didn't separate poetry from policy. He didn't separate song from strategy. He embodied them. And that's why his legacy is not just a song sung at assemblies. His legacy is infrastructure. His legacy is voice. His legacy is the blueprint for intellectual resistance. When you hear "Lift Every Voice and Sing," you are hearing a man who believed that survival was not enough. He demanded elevation. He demanded excellence. He demanded full humanity. And in a country determined to minimize Black brilliance, James Weldon Johnson lifted his voice anyway. And because he did, we are still singing.